I was like, you already clapped. What are you doing?
Hello, everybody. I'm Will.
And I'm Kristen.
And this is So I'm Watching Riverdale, Season 6, Episode 14.
Chapter 109, Venomous.
Are you not entertained?
No, I'm super entertained.
This gave us so many things that we wanted.
Yeah.
I am fading fast, so we're just going to get into it. In particular, the girls, all of their material. Mm-hmm. You got Cheryl.
This is the Cheryl I love. She's like still slightly removed from everybody, but everyone
which suits her characterization.
But everyone's coming to her for help. She is giving it, bestowing her knowledge upon them. I love this Cheryl.
We got Cheryl and
but
Archie.
Also mildly poisoning Archie just for experimentally.
She's a mad scientist. No, I love Cheryl and Archie. I love Cheryl and Archie plots. Yeah. And that full blown Sabrina scene in the mine was so good.
Yeah.
I love KJ Abba. He's so good. He's just
he's a good boy.
He's so good. It was so funny. His enthusiasm in the musical number, which we'll get there.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just, because there was a part of me, a good third of the way, 1 to 2, halfway through the episode, I was like, is Cheryl doing this? Is she making this bad? And no, she was a little cavalier with some of her.
Yes, she was, but not on purpose. It was, they were experimenting. She was testing to see what would work.
Well, there was that bizarre opening scene where when it was over, you were like, literally, who the hell was that? Because it wasn't Cheryl. And
it was weird. Her behavior was off.
But it did. I love that it was also just a magic 8-ball.
Yeah.
And
she kept calling it Oracle.
Yeah. And so we were like, oh, is it like a magic 8-ball? And she turns it and it's
an actual magic 8-ball.
It also wouldn't give her an answer.
About Heather.
Does that mean anything or?
It probably will.
Okay.
Yeah.
I love the implication. I love that they all have superpowers and that they have to work together. It's turning into an Avengers.
I love it.
Movie.
This is what I like, though, because I finally feel like we're back to season 1 and 2 of Riverdale, where they were all friends with each other and they all did stuff together and it all made sense.
I love this Veronica.
Also, yes.
You started to say something about...
She's unencumbered by the... Hello, Camila Mendez. When did you get here? She's unencumbered by the weight of every.
But also for the show as well. Camila Mendez, when did you show up?
No, but
unencumbered
by the presence of every man in her life, and now she is venomous, which is amazing. Let's just say low key amazing. I don't remember what I was gonna say while we were watching.
It was when she was in the bathtub, existing solely for her own.
Yeah.
Her own pleasure, her own curiosity, her own, she was reading about spiders, eating poisonous herbs, and loving it.
It's what I've been starving for Veronica, and it feels like what Veronica's been starving for as a character. And just, watching it all happen and watching Camilla be able to do something.
Unencumbered is the word, because it's we have been heaping other characters, and in particular men, on her and her on them. And this episode, Veronica existed for Veronica. Right. It was so good.
And so it's something that I can never tell if it's just a difference in acting, approaches or whatever. But Betty has had a boyfriend in every single episode of this show for the most part, as has Veronica. But for some reason, Veronica she has never felt like a complete person without a boyfriend or a man, even just Hiram imposing themselves on her. Whereas Betty has felt like a complete person with or without a boyfriend. And it's if Archie, God forbid, if Archie died in the next episode, Betty could carry on. You know what I mean? But it's every time Veronica has a boyfriend, I don't get the sense that she could carry on if they expire.
Certainly not the way they were plotting
exactly.
her.
But this Veronica, this Veronica could rule the world, and I'm obsessed with it. I want this Veronica. I want her to be venomous for the rest of the show.
And then the just like, because largely this episode we have Betty and Jughead together, and we don't have Archie and Veronica. We have Archie and Cheryl, but Betty and Jughead doing their stuff. There is no insecurity. There is no weirdness, and
there's a little weirdness on Jughead's end.
But
Betty doesn't feel weird. Archie doesn't feel weird.
That's true. There is some weirdness, but it's not. It's not from a place of like, what are you doing?
No, of course, yeah.
It's not from a jealous other
Jughead
person.
Just appears to be feeling nostalgic.
Sure, and
he's crippled by nostalgia. If we know one thing about Jughead,
I'm so curious what went on behind the scenes. Because it almost feels like they brought in someone from season 1 or 2. Like a writer or a showrunner or a producer or something.
Well, it's been Roberto the whole time.
Oh, I understand that. But
you're right. It feels like something.
Something maneuvered. Because during the Betty plot, you were sort of like... As much as we loved this episode by the end, in the middle, there was a point where we were like, where are we going? What are we doing? Because you were like, haven't we done this already with everything Betty was doing?
Because, like, I'm 100% sure we already figured out that Hal was grooming her to be a serial killer.
Whoever taught the writers the word grooming, take it away from them.
It's the same person who taught them Sundown Town. or Green Book or whatever it was, like 4 weeks ago.
They said it 53 times in this episode. No, it because... I was all prepared at the midway point to rant about like what the fuck Alice is on this show, because we have always loved Alice, and
part of that is just a general fondness for Metch and Amick. But
well, and she's one of the few people who it's like she can make it work.
Yeah, but we just have gone through so many iterations of Alice that it's like she's schizophrenic. Like I don't know who she is as a person.
I don't love where she was at the end of this episode. However, it did feel like a version of Alice we've had before.
Yeah.
And it felt not retconning, but like reaffirming.
Sure.
I feel like we reaffirmed a lot of things.
It's also, I like this Alice a lot better than like total Percival shill Alice.
I think it's yeah.
But that's the thing, too, is, like, Percival is a really interesting villain to me, especially in comparison to Hiram, who was a villain for 5 seasons.
I like Percival more when he's not necessarily passive, but it's like, because he's in this episode, but he didn't have plot in this episode.
Okay. But there's one specific moment that's making me say the things I'm saying, which is when he and Reggie are in his hotel room because he is still staying at the Babylonium. Like, Veronica hasn't kicked him out.
Veronica was like, you can leave anytime. At any point.
I'm shocked there's not just like a beautifully appointed apartment above the Curiosity Shop, but that's besides the point. So he and Reggie are having a meeting, and Veronica comes upstairs and sort of... She lays into Reggie, but she doesn't lay into Percival. She just says like one kind of nasty thing to Percival, and he just turns his head to the side and is smirking and laughing under his breath because it's like he doesn't care. He's like, "Oh, you're all riled up," and I think he also knows that she's venomous because of what he did, the Black Widow Glamourget egg and everything. So I think he just thinks it's funny. Like, he's just playing.
Well, it's like he would be doing this regardless, but now he's having fun.
Now he's having fun. And it's so much more interesting to me than Hiram, who was just in a weird psychosexual thing with his daughter and her boyfriend for 5 years.
And they were chasing their tail.
They were chasing their tail.
Because frankly, a weird psychosexual, I'm all here for, but it was round and round we go.
Yeah, everything was the same every week. And so, like, I mean, you know, knock on wood, they're not going to do this for, you know, as the rest of the run for Riverdale, just round and round and round with Percival. But I don't know. Right now, I'm finding him, because he's also infuriating, because he's just like a modern day politician. And so I'm just like angry also.
Well, it really gives me all I can think of is Mephisto, and that's not what I mean.
Mistopheles? Metaphysical?
Because the deal with the devil and...
Faust?
There you go. What's his name?
Faust.
The demon.
Mephistopheles.
Mephistopheles. I would too.
Magical Mr. No, Mustafa.
I'm leaving all of that in. He has a Mephistopheles thing.
Okay.
Where it's like,
well, that's part of the vibe of Needful Things too.
Okay.
It is, you are making a bargain with this like,
but it's like,
old man.
I could weirdly see them leveling up to defeat him and him going full Glinda.
Sure.
With like you didn't need me. Like
you
had the power within you all along, and he fades into the ether.
Yeah, sure.
Do you know what? Like there was something about his characterization in this episode that I just really loved. I'm not entirely sure where we're going with Betty, because again, it feels retready.
Yeah.
But I was enjoying everything so much that I'm going to go ahead and be hopeful.
So it turns out Alice also has a serial killer gene, which she directly lied to Betty about. And she's also then gaslighting Betty about it.
That scene was shot so weird.
It was so weird.
Where Hal was like...
Yeah.
But it was like second person perspective?
Yeah.
Like Mechid Amick was looking directly into the camera, like, oh,
yeah,
like it
was super weird. And so then basically Betty gets Jughead to go with her to the news station to try to like get it out of Alice what she's hiding. And there's just a dead body underneath the dining room table, a dead cop that Hal killed and forced Alice to help him hide, or he would take the kids away from her.
And so it's like, weirdly, that's why Alice has been so weird with Betty.
So that
she was trying...
felt new. That bit felt new.
Well, that's why I said, I was like, it wasn't necessarily retconning, but sort of like a reframing of a lot of things.
That's Betty was like, that's why you needed me to be so perfect, is because you were trying to control this part of me.
Because we are properly in a fourth show now.
Yeah.
Riverdale this show could have 3-4 more seasons. I don't want it to, per se,
but it could.
But do you know what? Like, this is a different show.
Speaking of deals with the devil, I want all of these actors to be able to do something else. But I agree with you. This is like a different show, and I am like super enjoying this show.
And it feels like they have gone back to the source material, because the original concept for Riverdale was going to be an exploration of genre.
Yeah.
And season 1 was noir, season 2 was going to be horror.
Yeah.
Like, and it feels like they've gone more that, like,
and they really went off the rails at some point where none of it really ended up making sense.
And it happened so organically that it was like, what's the thing they say about like the lobster falling asleep in the pot? It just gets it just kept getting warmer and warmer. We didn't realize and we fell asleep. Next thing you know, but
it's a frog, I think.
Sure. Yeah. But I did want to say with them that scene where, because Veronica's last kiss was like Reggie before she killed Geraldo, and so bizarrely touching scene where Betty like brings Archie to Veronica. You get the sense that
presumably they discussed it.
I was gonna say the opposite.
Oh, no.
I was gonna say you get the sense that she just is like, hey,
springing it on Archie.
I know. You're right. You're correct.
Yeah.
You're correct. But regardless, it was very from a place of Betty was lending Archie to Veronica.
Yeah.
And
we don't want your last kiss to have been Reggie since you're so mad about it, and Archie is immune again, so you can kiss Archie, and that'll be your last kiss till we get this sorted out.
I really wanted for them, when Archie and Veronica were kissing, for like the camera to pull out on Betty just sitting in the corner smoking a cigarette, crossing her legs.
Like Sharon Stone.
She's like, gotta put that one in the bank.
Yeah.
What did Cheryl do to Archie?
She forged him. Okay.
No questions, no notes.
Okay, so 10 out of 10, no notes. So basically, he's trying to build up a tolerance to iocane powder.
And then she makes some stone soup.
She made him palladium. He's wearing the palladium. She made him palladium soup, and so it's basically just trying so that he can fight Percival, like Superman and Kryptonite, kind of. So it turns out that his weight is dropping like crazy. He's sicker. He's bleeding. His hair is falling out. And so
too far, Riverdale.
She goes
bridge too far.
He goes to talk to her, and she's like, could be that we just like leached all of the metals out of your system completely. So we need to like infuse you with more metals, which I'm just assuming take iron supplements kind of a thing. And then I'm going to conduct heat into you. And it will like forge the metals inside of you. I don't.
No, I was literally going to be like, they were like, you need to build up a tolerance to palladium, so have some around you. But then I was like, oh no, you had too much, so now you need to have it again in a different way. But I'll make you really hot, and then you'll be good forever.
Yeah.
I loved it.
Well, there was stuff about alchemy in there too. When she forged it, she was like turning it into something that wouldn't be affected by the palladium.
Because you can turn gold into iron, but you can't turn iron into gold.
Whatever.
I'll allow it. It was so good.
It's Cheryl Blossom.
She wanted.
Magic.
She also like. There's the Heather subplot. I'm for it. Nothing quite has come of it just yet. Although that like end, what's the opposite of a re-meet cute?
Yeah.
Was breathtaking.
Her name is Caroline Day.
But just the way that the doors open and the wind blowing in Cheryl's hair, and the way Caroline, like she straight burgled Kiernan Shipka's.
I was gonna say it was exactly
intro,
like that,
but good.
Yeah,
and there's this like huge musical number to Toxic. Is so fucking good. Camilla was so good. Everybody, time of their life.
Amazing.
Like it was so great. It was so.
And then KJ was like doing the dance with her, with like one arm around Betty.
So yeah, I mean, other things happen. Next week looks good too. I'm just like, I loved it. I'm in like I'm in a really great spot.
Tabitha's on her way back from Albany. I was trying to see what else. It looks like we're having a reckoning with Uncle Frank next week.
We haven't had any Kevin or Fangs or Tony.
Yeah, in like 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Which I mean, I'm kind of
I like those characters, but I also think that it factors into the enjoyment of the last 2 episodes. Yeah. Because that plot is very labored. And
the whole point of like Reggie and Percival is that they're trying to like convene the board of the Babylonium to like sell it. Reggie's trying to sell it because he's presumably just butthurt, and he thinks that Veronica's kidneys are failing because they saw her getting dialysis. It's super funny, and she basically was like, literally, fuck you and the horse you rode in on, and also I'm in the prime of my life,
and I'm gonna sing a song.
Look at me in this bustier.
So yeah, well, hopefully you enjoyed, and we'll be back next week, and bye.
Bye.
Intoxicate me now, with your lover now. I think I'm ready now. I think I'm ready now.